All right. Well, welcome back to Crestview Leads. Today, I've got an opportunity to talk to a good friend of mine by the name of Rex Fitzgerald. As you guys know, the podcast is just an opportunity for us to talk about the way that Crestview leads inside of our community. We do that in all kinds of ways. We do it in local government. We do it in our partnerships. And I think we do a really good job of doing it in some of our social programs as well. And so Rex is the executive director?
Yes, sir.
Rex is the executive director of Project Hope, and him and I go way back. And so he came in here to join me. So welcome, Rex.
Amen. Thanks for having me. It's a great opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here today. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, again, my name's Rex. I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director for Project Hope Florida, and kind of like the Rogaine commercial, I'm not only a spokesperson, but I'm also a client. So
right. Not a client of Rogaine, though, obviously.
No, obviously not.
Obviously
it doesn't
not.
work. I've tried.
Okay.
And so just stick with the razor. Amen.
Right. There you go. Good stuff.
But yeah, I spent 17 years in addiction, man, and I have a great opportunity to lead others out of that every single day. That's my heart's passion, man. My life's passion is to be able to help other people that want to come out of it.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about where you're from. So where were you at originally before you landed here in Okaloosa County?
Okay, so I grew up in Central Florida in between Pasco and Pinellas County.
Okay.
I was actually born in Houston, Texas, but I grew up down there. My mother moved to Fort Walton Beach when I was 18 years old, and I kind of followed her up here from there.
Okay, good. So then is that, so you said you were in Project Hope, or I know you were in Project, that's how we met.
Yep.
And so you were in Project Hope. Were you living in Fort Walton at the time, or was it your mother?
So I was actually living here in Crestview at the time.
Okay, all right.
And so it's a great story of redemption, man. I've walked these streets of Crestview as an addict, lost and homeless in Crestview. It was just a rough life, man, and I've got the opportunity to go through Project Hope. I've been in that county jail down there. That's actually where I met the Lord, and
nice.
He transformed my heart, man, and gave me an opportunity to go to Project Hope. They opened the doors for me, man. I went through that program in Fort Walton Beach, and we ended up here in Crestview. It's funny how that works.
It is funny, yeah. So I met you there in Fort Walton. I was volunteering with Project Hope back at 4 or 5 years ago.
Longer
6,
than that.
7.
7.
Golly, where's the time go? We're getting old.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the reasons I wanted to invite you onto this podcast. So this thing, those that watch it and pay attention to it, this podcast is about, how we lead in Crestview. But really what I like about it is it's an opportunity for me to pick people to come on the show with me that have had an influence in my life. Amen. People that when I look at them, I think, man, this person exudes some of the characteristics that I want all leaders to be able to demonstrate. And so when I was putting the list together with Chance, when we first started this, your name came up and I put it on there. And the thing I put on there was that I wanted you to be able to talk about defining moments. So one of the things I love about you, Rex, is your ability, or how appreciative you are about the good things. You've seen some tough times, right? Yeah. How many years in addiction, you said?
17.
17 years in addiction. And so living on the street, on the streets, and then now in a position of leadership and a position where you get to see other people be successful. And so something in your life, there's defining moments, that we come up against. You mentioned you had an experience in the jail, but how do you? So when we were setting up to do this, I wanted to bring you on to talk about how do we identify those defining moments in our lives? Like sometimes time just goes by, and we don't realize how fast time's going by, and these things that happen to us that change us either for the good or for the bad, we don't recognize them. But you got this knack for kind of identifying those things. So how do we do that?
So for me, unfortunately, I've learned everything the hard way over the years. And so even nowadays, I see anything that I struggle with that I'm going through, those things are working something in me that are good things in me, right? And so the struggles that I go through, I actually see those as a blessing now, because that every time I've ever learned and been able to grow, it's through a hard time.
Right.
And for me, that has been the thing that has always worked something good in me, is the struggles that I've went through. And so for my addiction, for instance, going spending 17 years in addiction and being in the hospital multiple times, having multiple heart surgeries, everything I've ever went through, I've been able to use that as like, okay, well, that's something that happened in my life that has produced good in me because it's made me stronger, and it's helped me also to recognize that I don't want to continue to do that,
right,
if that makes sense. And
right.
so that's really for me, that helps me to kind of see, okay, this is something that's gonna benefit me if I can go through this hard time and endure this, enduring the rough times.
Right.
That's the thing for me, is if I can just get through this, and what gets me through it is my faith, right? And so trusting the Lord and knowing that He's going to produce something good out of this hardship that I'm going through has really helped me to endure and overcome.
So it's, right now you run an organization that's got, how many students are in there?
So we have 18 students currently at our Florida home, yeah.
Right, and then how much staff?
We have 10 staff members that are all graduates of the program.
Okay, and then how long ago were you in the program?
So I was in the program 6 years ago. I graduated the program.
Right, I might have been there for that actually.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
So 6 years ago or 7 years ago, because it's a year-long program, you were where you were at, and then now you're in this place where you're getting an opportunity to lead this organization.
Yeah.
How do you, what? When you look back on that, you got to be like, man,
I'm humbled by it every day.
Right.
Every day.
How do you make sure, like, at what point did you decide that you weren't going to let those 17 years of bad decisions define you, that you were going to do something different?
That was when I was incarcerated.
Okay.
Like that was the last time.
Here
in the Okaloosa County Jail, the last time I was incarcerated for drugs. It's always been for drugs. And I was in there, and I had an encounter with the Lord, and he just told me, he said, when you're going to stop running from me? Okay. Obviously it wasn't an audible voice, but it was something that I know that he was speaking to my heart. And he said, when you're going to stop running from me? And I just made that decision. I kind of drew the line in the sand at that moment and said that I'm not going to let everything that I've used in the past to keep me in addiction keep me bound anymore.
Right.
I'm going to be an overcomer, and I'm going to use the truth to combat the lies. And so that was really the defining moment for me.
So talk about that for a minute. What do you mean by I was going to use, or that I use the truth to combat the lies? What is, tease that out. What do you mean?
And so for me, the truth is that I'm an overcomer. I'm an overcomer because God's already won the battle for me. Right. And I know that in my heart of hearts that battle's already won. So the things that I keep on fighting, my flesh being number one, that's something that I don't have to continue to fight that every day. Right. I can just, I can put my trust in God, and also, study His Word, and be in prayer, and seek counsel, and seek help from other people, and not continue to lean on my own understanding and do what Rex wants to do.
Right.
That was the thing for me, is I stopped doing what Rex wanted to do.
So how do you get, 17 years of doing something, how do you not allow that to be the label? Right. So we get sometimes we get in a rut, right? Yeah. Where we can be labeled by our decisions, good or bad. Yeah. Right. Because you right now you've got 18 people, you said?
Yeah. 18 students.
18 students that are looking up to you. How do you, what do you do to help them? So this podcast is about leadership, and it's, a lot of times we get to talking about how we lead either in government or in business or all of those kind of things, but really what matters. So I tell people, I teach a class on leadership, and one of the things that I teach in that class is that the function of our job, the thing that I do every day to be the city manager, that part of my job is important, and I have to be technically sound at it, and I need to be able to do it. But its whole purpose, the way I see it, its whole purpose is to allow me access to people to help them reach their full potential, right? So I'm going to go do a good job as a city manager. I'm going to do all those things. But at the end of the day, anybody can do that job. It's, am I making a difference? Not anybody may, but most people can do that job. There's a lot of people on Facebook that can do that job better than me, right? But anybody else can do that job, but are they making a difference? And so for you, how do you get those 18 men, because it's all men, right? So a live-in men facility. So how do you get those 18 men to believe that their past doesn't define their future?
That's a long process.
Right.
It's a long process, but it's just...
Well, we got about 20 minutes.
Amen. So it's just constantly combating the lies with truth. And the truth is, like I stated before, for me, what I believe that the Lord spoke to me and what I know the Word says. I speak that over my life, and I speak it over them, and also lead by example for them. That's the thing that really helped me change, is to see somebody not talk about it, but be about it. People that don't just say that they're going to do the right thing, but they actually do it. And seeing men of God and good leaders in my life, and having good leaders in my life teach me how to do the same thing, how to be a good leader. That's helped me. And so that's my mission, is to do that with these guys and walk that out. And what that means to me and what it looks like for me is doing what I say I'm going to do. Right. Having empathy.
So it starts with those little things.
Absolutely.
Just do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Do what you say you're going to do. Have empathy. Meet people where they are. That's another thing about the addiction recovery ministry is you have to meet them where they're at.
Right.
And you have to get on their level with them. And sometimes that's extremely ugly. Sometimes it's extremely hard, and it'll pull you through the mud. It's tough to do, but you have to meet people where they're at and have empathy. I think that's the key there.
So having known you over these years, it's been cool for me to watch, because I was there when you came into the program, right? And I remember the wrecks that I knew when you came into the program. You spent some time in and out of the hospital. I remember that as well. But then watching you then come from where you were at. So you went from jail to the program, program to working for the ministry, and then eventually running it. To me, it's this perfect picture of how, single decisions don't define you unless it's the next one. So I tell people that all the time. One decision doesn't have to define your life unless it's the next one, and it's a good one. Right? Make the right one, make the next decision be the right decision. So, but watching you, because you went from that situation to now you're married, now you have a baby, growing up baby, and you're running this organization and all that. So it's an opportunity to provide hope for people.
Absolutely.
Project Hope.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. And my mother used to always tell me, Rex, just do the next right thing.
Right.
Whatever that is, just do that. And I really, when I was able to grasp that and start to walk that out in my life, that's when everything changed for me. And it's like, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that I would be leading this addiction recovery ministry and have a family and all this, I would have told you you're crazy. Like, I never would. I couldn't think of that, but it was just one step at a time, one good decision at a time. Some bad ones, obviously we all make mistakes, but just deciding that I'm going to do the right thing, whatever that looks like, honor my leadership, do what's asked of me and do it to the best of my ability, and be a yes man. That has served me very well. Be a yes man. Just be willing to work harder than anybody else, or just as hard as everybody else, and do anything that you would ask anybody to do. Be willing to do that yourself.
So that's really at the root of it. You're saying just do. If I'm going to ask you to do it, then I'll do it myself.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good stuff. That's good
sir.
stuff. So what are you most excited about right now? So do you do things, are you able to have an opportunity to do some specific things to kind of, so the way the program works is you go through the program, then sometimes you have an opportunity to intern. Yeah. And then from internship, sometimes people will work there and then they'll go off into the private sector or something. Yeah. So what are you guys doing? What do you do to develop those guys that now they've made a series of right decisions over 12 months? They're graduated from the program. How do you help them to equip them to stay on that same path?
Honestly, the best thing that we do for them is give them lived experience, right? And give them opportunities to lead and walk them through that. And so when they come through the program, they basically come in and, we can't trust them, right? They just came out of addiction. Right. So the first 6 months of their program, they're just there. We really want them to just absorb and learn. Right. Like learn and do the best you can not to make a terrible decision. Like let's get you through this. Let's get your mind clear. Let's get the cobwebs out of there, right? And then after about 6 months in the program, they're given an opportunity to have little small pieces of leadership. Right. And so we walk them through that. Every week I meet with them. We go over a teaching. We go through just what it means to lead. And try to show them that you have to lead by example, right? You have to be a man of your word. You have to show compassion and empathy to people. You have to be nice to people, because a lot of times People weren't nice to us.
Right.
I was one of those guys that I was really rough around the edges. You knew how I was.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to learn how to be nice to people. And so this program gave me that opportunity to learn how to do that in a controlled environment where I had leaders that were kind of there with me going, hey, man, you need to correct this area. And so that's what we do for the second half of their program. Now, after they graduate, they're given an opportunity to intern. Right. And so that is just another step.
Like a stretch of freedom,
right?
Connected to
right, because you can imagine 12 months away out of society. You don't have a phone. You can't come and go as you please. So this just gives them a little bit more freedom. Obviously, they're still accountable to us, but it also gives them another level of leadership, right? And so they'll be going out with teams. Selling the crafts that we make and fundraising for the ministry. Right. And that's just another level of leadership. And so it kind of walks them through that. And I've really seen a lot of success with that because most of the guys that come through our program have never had a leadership opportunity in their lives.
Right.
And so
I'm a firm believer in the ability to keep somebody on the right path. A lot of times is directly related to how much responsibility you give them.
Yeah.
You can overburden them,
yep.
But also I believe that, in order for somebody to, there needs to be a fear of loss and there needs to be a feel or a understanding of the responsibility.
Yeah.
And so if I'm only responsible for me, then it's one thing. But if I'm responsible for me and thee, then maybe I might make bad decisions on my own because I pay the cost of those decisions. But if I'm responsible for you too, then I'm going to want to make sure that I'm not making decisions that are going to have a negative impact on you. And we're fixing to run out of time, but I want to talk about one of the things I learned as I volunteered in that program was, people think 12 months is a long time and it's really hard. But what I realized is that once these guys would get to about months 5, 6, 7, that's where it really got hard because they would be clean.
Yeah.
And they would begin to think, hey, I can go back out and get into I'll go back and get into the world and do whatever I'm going to do, but I'll be fine because I'm clean. But the reality of it is sometimes you spend 17 years developing a habit. You're not going to spend 4 months cutting the habit, right? So how do you get them to when they're clean, when they think, hey, it's time for me to go back to work, how do you lead them through sticking it out to make sure that they get that firm foundation?
I mean, for me, there's nothing better than experience, right? And nothing can speak to them better than somebody that's been through what they've been through.
Right.
Right. And so that's all of our leaders have went through what they've went through. And so we're able to kind of minister to them. And also it just depends on them, man, whether or not they're willing to go through what they need to go through in order to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. And so oftentimes I'll say to them, sometimes we got to have you do things that you don't want to do in order for you to get the things that you want.
Right.
And so that's really hard for a lot of them to grasp that. But most of the time we're going to have to go through stuff we don't want to go through in order to get the things that we want.
That's so good. That's so good. So Rex, if you were going to think about one thing, if you could just grab somebody that's at a place in their life where maybe they're either at what people would consider maybe the bottom or getting close to the bottom, and you could just grab them and tell them, give them one piece of advice to recognize that, hey, you can go from the jail with no family to being the director of an organization, seeing people's lives change with a wife, with a baby, with a productive life. What would you, if you could speak one thing into their lives right now, what would it be?
Surrender.
Okay.
You got to lay it down. You got to stop doing what you want to do, and you got to listen to somebody and let people help you. That's the big thing. You got to let people help you. Pride was one of my biggest problems, and I never wanted to listen to other people, and I never wanted to give anybody the opportunity to speak into my life. And when I was able to open up and start doing that and listen to men of God and good leadership, that changed everything for me. And it wasn't easy, but it was definitely the best decision that I made. I listened to other people and let people help me. Yeah. And you being one of those people, helped me through a lot. And so just opening up to them, man, and letting people lead you and guide you and trust people.
Yeah, what I love about what you said is sometimes I got to get you to do the things you don't want to do so we can get you to the things that you want.
That's right.
That is so good, so good. Well, Rex, man, I appreciate you coming. This is fast. Didn't get a whole lot of time to talk, but I appreciate it. I'll get you back on. Man, tell one more time, if somebody wants to help out Project Hope, where would they be able to? Is there a phone number? What can we do? Let's do it this way. If somebody knows somebody in addiction and they need help, what's the best way to get in touch with Project Hope?
The best way to get in touch with Project Hope is you go to projecthoperc.com. You can see our ministry. It'll tell you all about what we're about. And there's also application forms on there that somebody that's needing help, they can fill out an application and they should get a call back within the hour.
What if I don't have any money?
If you don't have any money, that doesn't matter. I didn't have a thing to my name when I came through the doors of Project Hope. We help people regardless of what they have.
That's good, man. Well, I appreciate you again. Those of you who are watching Crestview Leads, thank you so much for paying attention to us. We're on all the podcast streaming platforms, so check us out there. We're obviously on Facebook, on YouTube, and we'd love to get you to come out and hang out at some of our city council meetings. We'll see if we can bore you to sleep, but here goes another one in the book. So thank you so much. Have a good day.
Amen.